The sign outside the diner glowed softly in the late night. The windows were bright. The booths were clean. The coffee smelled warm and familiar. Merrick sat near the front with a simple slice of pie. He wore a leather vest, but he did not act tough. He looked calm. He looked tired in a normal way, like someone who had driven a long road and just wanted a quiet break. Tessa worked the counter. She had been there for years. She could tell what kind of night it would be by the way the door opened. At a little before midnight, the bell above the door rang. A man walked in first. He looked neat. His shirt was tucked in. His hair was trimmed. His smile was polite. 3 steps behind him walked a girl. She was small. She wore a gray sweatshirt that looked too big. The sleeves covered her hands. Her ponytail sat low and loose. She kept her eyes on the floor. Tessa paused with a cup in her hand. Something felt off. Not loud. Not obvious. Just a quiet feeling that said, "Pay attention." The man chose a booth in the back corner. He slid in first. The girl slid in after him. She sat against the wall. She made herself small. Her hands stayed hidden inside the long sleeves. Merrick noticed it too. He did not stare. He did not judge. He simply watched. Tessa picked up 2 menus and walked to the booth. She wore her friendliest smile, the one that made people feel welcome. "Tessa, good evening. What can I get you both?" The man looked up at once. "Man, coffee for me, water for her." Tessa looked at the girl with gentle eyes. "Tessa, we have hot chocolate tonight, with whipped cream. Would you like that?" The girl lifted her gaze for a second. Her eyes were wide. Not rude, not angry, just careful. She almost nodded. Then her eyes flicked to the man, quick and quiet, like a question she did not want to ask out loud. The man answered without looking at her. "Man, water is fine." The girl lowered her eyes again. She did not argue. She did not speak. Tessa kept her smile, but her chest felt tight. "Tessa, of course. I will be right back." She turned away and walked toward the counter. Merrick's eyes followed the scene. He noticed how the man sat on the outside of the booth. He noticed how the girl sat deep in the corner. He noticed how the girl stayed still, like stillness was safer. Tessa poured the coffee. Her hands looked steady, but her thoughts moved fast. She did not want to assume anything. She did not want to embarrass a family. But she also could not ignore what she felt. She walked past Merrick's table with the coffee pot. "Tessa, more coffee." "Merrick, yes please." She poured. Then she lowered her voice. "Tessa, back booth. Something feels wrong." Merrick did not change his expression. He did not make a scene. "Merrick, what did you see?" Tessa swallowed. "Tessa." She looked at him before she could answer, like she needed permission. Merrick nodded slowly. "Merrick, okay. We stay calm. We stay smart. We do not accuse." "Tessa, what do we do?" "Merrick, I will walk by, like I am going to the restroom. If she asks for help in a safe way, I will understand. Then I will call for help quietly." Tessa felt a small wave of relief, not because the situation was solved, but because she was not alone in seeing it. "Tessa, thank you." Merrick stood up like a normal customer. He stretched his shoulders. He walked toward the back hallway. As he got close, the man looked up. The smile on his face stayed friendly, but his eyes looked sharp, like he was measuring the room. Merrick kept moving. He did not speak to the man. He did not stop at the booth. He only looked at the girl for one brief moment. The girl lifted her eyes. They met his. Then she blinked. Once, twice, 3 times. Slow and clear. Merrick froze inside, but not outside. He kept his face calm. He kept walking. He went into the hallway. He took out his phone with steady hands. He did not write a long message. He did not turn it into drama. He noted the diner name, the location, the booth, the man's clothes, the car outside. Then he made a quiet call. When he returned, he sat down again. He kept his posture relaxed. He watched the back booth in a way that did not look like staring. Tessa returned to the booth with the coffee and the water. "Tessa, here you go." "Man, thank you." Tessa looked at the girl with a soft voice. "Tessa, Would you like crackers or toast? The girl did not answer. The man answered for her. Man, crackers are fine. Tessa nodded. Tessa, of course. I will bring them. She walked away. Her heart beat faster. She kept her face calm. Merrick glanced at the door, then at his phone, then back to the booth. He told himself one thing. Stay steady. Stay kind. Stay ready. Because tonight, a child had used the smallest signal in the world, and someone had finally seen it. The minutes moved slowly after that. The diner stayed quiet, but the air felt different, like everyone was waiting without knowing why. The man finished his coffee faster than before. He checked his phone. He glanced toward the door. The girl stayed still. Her shoulders were tense. Her hands stayed hidden inside her sleeves. Merrick stayed seated. He did not stare. He did not block anyone. He simply stayed visible. Tessa returned with a small plate of crackers. She set it down gently. Tessa, here you go. The girl looked at the plate but did not reach for it. The man nodded. Man, thank you. We will take the check soon. Tessa, of course. No rush. She walked back to the counter slowly. She wiped the same spot twice. She rearranged napkins that were already neat. Time mattered now. Merrick stood up and walked toward the front like someone stretching after a long drive. He stopped near the drink station. He leaned slightly, casual and relaxed. The man slid out of the booth. The girl followed him right away, like she knew the timing by heart. They walked toward the exit. Merrick shifted just enough to slow the path. Not blocking, just present. Merrick, long night to be on the road. The man forced a smile. Man, yes, we are heading home. Merrick nodded. Merrick, hope the drive is smooth. The girl looked up again. Her eyes moved between Merrick and the door. Her breathing was quick but quiet. Tessa stepped forward with the receipt. Tessa, here is the check whenever you are ready. The man placed cash on the counter without looking. Man, keep the change. Tessa, thank you. Have a good night. The man took the girl's hand lightly. Not rough, not gentle, just firm. They moved toward the door again. The room felt smaller. Then the girl spoke. Girl, please. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it carried. Everyone froze. The man turned quickly. Man, she is just tired. Merrick lowered his voice. Merrick, it is okay. We can take a moment. The girl looked at Merrick. Her eyes filled with tears that did not fall yet. Girl, I want my mom. The man stiffened. Man, we talked about this. Merrick stayed calm. His voice stayed steady. Merrick, hey, what is your name? The man answered right away. Man, Emma. The girl shook her head slowly. Girl, Lena. Silence filled the diner. Tessa felt her breath catch. Merrick felt a quiet certainty settle in. The front door opened again. A uniformed officer stepped inside. Calm, professional, kind. Officer, good evening. Is everything all right here? Tessa spoke gently. Tessa, we were a little concerned about the child. The officer nodded and crouched to Lena's level. Officer, hi. My name is Officer Ramirez. You are not in trouble. Can you tell me who you came here with? Lena looked at Merrick, then at Tessa, then back at the officer. Lena, I want my mom. Officer Ramirez smiled softly. Officer, okay, let us make sure we help you with that. The officer spoke quietly with the man near the door. Another officer arrived moments later. Their voices stayed calm. No one raised their tone. Lena was guided to a booth near the counter. Tessa brought her a warm cup of hot chocolate. Tessa, here you go. Take your time. Lena wrapped her hands around the cup. Her shoulders relaxed just a little. Minutes passed. Then headlights flashed outside the window. A woman rushed through the door. Her eyes searched the room. Woman. Lena. Lena stood up so fast the chair tipped back. Lena. Mom. They hugged near the counter. Tight. Long. Like neither wanted to let go. The woman looked around. Overwhelmed. Woman. Thank you. Thank you for seeing her. Merrick nodded. Merrick. She did the brave part. Lena looked up at him. Lena. You noticed. Merrick smiled. Merrick, I did. And I always will. Later, as the night faded toward morning, the diner returned to normal. Coffee poured. Plates clinked. Tessa leaned on the counter beside Merrick. Tessa, I almost said nothing. Merrick, but you did. Tessa nodded. Tessa, I trusted that feeling. Merrick, that is how change starts. Outside, the sky lightened. Quiet diner. A small signal. And a room full of people who chose kindness. Sometimes that is all it takes. The diner felt calmer after that. Not empty, just softer. The woman and Lena sat together in a booth near the window. Lena held her cup with both hands. The steam rose slowly. Her breathing was steady now. The woman brushed hair from Lena's face. Woman, I was so worried. Lena leaned closer. Lena, I knew you would come. The officer spoke gently nearby, explaining next steps in simple words. No rush, no pressure, just clarity. Merrick stayed at a respectful distance. He did not need to be close. He had done his part. Tessa wiped the counter and watched quietly. She felt tired, but lighter. A few minutes later, the woman stood and walked toward Merrick. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. Woman, I do not know how to thank you. Merrick shook his head. Merrick, you do not have to. I only listened. The woman smiled softly. Woman, that made all the difference. Lena walked over slowly. She stopped in front of Merrick and looked up. Lena, you believed me. Merrick bent down so they were at the same level. Merrick, I did, and I always will. Lena nodded once. Then she reached out and gave him a small hug. It was brief and gentle. Just enough. When they left, the door closed quietly behind them. The night felt less heavy. Merrick returned to his seat. He looked at his coffee. It had gone cold, but he did not mind. Tessa came over with a fresh cup. Tessa, on the house. Merrick smiled. Merrick, thank you. They stood in silence for a moment. Tessa, I kept thinking, what if I was wrong? Merrick took a slow sip. Merrick, then we would have been kind for no reason. That is not a loss. Tessa nodded. Her eyes filled, but she smiled. Tessa, I am glad I trusted myself. Merrick, you should be. Outside, the sky began to change color. The dark blue softened. Morning waited at the edge. Other customers came and went. None of them knew what had happened. And that was okay. Some moments are not meant for everyone. Some moments are meant to change one life at a time. Later, when Merrick stood to leave, Tessa stopped him. Tessa, will you come back? Merrick, yes, I think I will. He stepped outside. The air was cool and clean. The road stretched ahead like it always did. But something felt different. Not louder, not bigger, just clearer. He understood something now. That noticing matters. That staying calm matters. That small choices can shape a future. Inside the diner, Tessa watched the door for the next customer. She stood a little taller. She knew she would keep paying attention. And somewhere down the road, Lena sat beside her mom, watching the sky lighten, holding warmth in her hands. Quiet moment, a simple signal, and a reminder that kindness, when chosen, has a way of finding its way home. Weeks passed after that night. Life returned to its normal rhythm, but small changes lingered. At the diner, Tessa noticed herself slowing down. She listened more closely. She looked at faces instead of orders. She learned that kindness often starts with attention. Some nights were busy. Some nights were quiet. But every time the bell above the door rang, she remembered that one moment when paying attention mattered. Merrick rode his usual roads. Long stretches of pavement, open skies, familiar stops. He did not tell the story often. He did not need praise. But sometimes, when he stopped for coffee, he watched a little more carefully. Not with suspicion, with care. He understood now that strength does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks patient. Sometimes it looks still. One afternoon, an envelope arrived at the diner. No return address. Just Tessa's name written neatly on the front. Inside was a small card. On the front was a drawing. A diner. Big windows. a sun rising behind it. Inside were a few words written carefully. "Thank you for seeing me." Tessa pressed the card to her chest. She smiled through quiet tears. Later that same week, Merrick received a card too. The drawing was similar. A road, a motorcycle, a bright sky. The message inside was simple. "Thank you for believing me." Merrick placed the card in his jacket pocket. He kept it there on every ride. Months went by. Lena returned to school. She laughed more. She raised her hand in class. She spoke when something mattered. Her mom noticed the change. Not because Lena became louder, but because she became more certain of herself. One evening, as they walked together, Lena looked up. "Lena." "Mom." "Mom." "Yes." "Lena, if something feels wrong, it is okay to say something." Her mom nodded. "Mom." "Yes. It is always okay." Lena smiled. At the diner, Tessa trained a new waitress. She showed her how to carry plates and how to smile at tired travelers. And she added one more lesson. "Tessa, if something feels off, trust that feeling. You do not have to fix everything. You just have to care." The new waitress nodded, unsure but listening. One quiet morning, Merrick stopped by again. Same booth, same pie. Tessa poured his coffee. "Tessa, good to see you." "Merrick, good to be here." They shared a quiet smile. No big words. No need for them. Outside, the road waited. Inside, the diner hummed with small life moments. A place where people passed through. A place where one small signal had changed a story. And somewhere beyond the diner, beyond the road, beyond that night, the lesson stayed alive. Kindness does not always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it blinks 3 times. And sometimes all it needs is someone willing to notice. Years later, the diner still stood on that stretch of road. The sign had faded a little. The booths had new scratches. The coffee tasted the same. People came and went. Most never knew what had once happened there. And that was fine. Some stories are not meant to be famous. They are meant to be remembered quietly. Tessa still worked the counter. Her hair had a few more strands of gray. Her smile was calmer now. Stronger. She had learned something important that night. That kindness does not always need answers. Sometimes it only needs courage. When new staff joined, she shared one simple rule. "Tessa, pay attention to people. They matter more than the order." Merrick still rode his motorcycle. Fewer miles now. Fewer late nights. But the road still felt like home. He never called himself a hero. He never told the story unless someone asked. When they did, he kept it simple. "Merrick, I just listened." He carried the card in his wallet. The paper had softened over time. The words were still clear. "Thank you for believing me." Lena grew up knowing her voice mattered. She learned that even quiet signals deserve respect. That fairness begins when someone is willing to notice. As she got older, she helped others when they felt overlooked. Not by fixing everything, just by standing beside them. One afternoon, she visited the diner again. She sat by the window. She watched the light move across the tables. Tessa recognized her right away. "Tessa, you came back." Lena smiled. "Lena, I wanted to." They shared a warm moment. No long speeches. No heavy memories. Just gratitude. Outside, the road stretched forward like it always had. A place where people pass through. A place where lives briefly cross. Sometimes, a story changes not because of loud action, but because someone stayed calm. Someone stayed kind. Someone stayed present. That night, a small signal was noticed. And because of that, many lives moved forward with more hope. This story is not about fear. It is about awareness. It is not about power. It is about dignity. And it is not about being perfect. It is about choosing kindness when it matters most. Because sometimes the most meaningful thing you can do is notice someone and let them know they are seen. The story did not end at the diner. It never really does. Moments like that continue quietly, carried forward by the people they touch. Years later, Tessa still believed in simple things. A warm greeting, a contact, listening before judging. She had seen how one choice could change a direction. how fairness could begin with attention. When people asked her why she stayed at the diner so long, she always answered the same way. Tessa, this place reminds me to slow down. Merrick learned something too. Not about courage. He already knew that. He learned that calm can be powerful. That kindness does not need strength to be loud. Sometimes it just needs to be steady. On long rides, he would think about that night. Not with fear, with gratitude. Grateful that he noticed. Grateful that others listened. Grateful that things moved in the right direction. Lena grew into someone who trusted her instincts. She did not rush to speak. She did not rush to judge. But when something felt wrong, she paid attention. At school, at work, with friends, she became someone people felt safe around. Not because she had answers, but because she cared. One evening, she told her mom something that stayed with her. Lena, I think people change when they feel seen. Her mom smiled. Mom, I think you are right. The diner still welcomed travelers at all hours. Some tired, some hopeful, some just passing through. No signs on the wall told the story. No plaque marked the booth. And that was perfect, because the lesson was never about a place. It was about people. It was about choosing to notice, choosing to stay calm, choosing kindness when it feels easier to look away. This story is a reminder. You do not need to be loud to make a difference. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to care enough to pay attention. Somewhere today, someone may feel overlooked. Someone may be waiting quietly. A small signal, quiet moment, and someone else may notice. That is how hope continues. One moment at a time.